Dear students, today we are going to discuss the fourth section of the story, The Silver Lining. The scene that confronted us was something we least expected. The strange young man was reclining on the grassy ground and Pramodni was sitting on his lap. He was showing her the flowers. And suddenly, like the sound of a gun exploding, the shrill animal like a laughter of Pramodini pierced the air. Pierced means go into or go through. The parents looked at each other with wonder and amazement. Our daughter has not laughed like this for years, Mrs. Bandari said. Curious, we watched the two of them who were now walking towards us hand in hand. Pramodini ran to her mother and danced about her with joy. She made her queer sounds of ma, ma, and wildly pointed to the young man. It was Mr. David who came to our rescue. We soon realized that he was deaf and dumb too. His strange, ambiguous silences, his sudden rush for the girl on reading the note, all became instantly clear to us. It took us time to digest the news, and then both parents broke into incoherent statements of profuse apologies that they had not noticed it earlier. Ambiguous means obscure, incoherent statement means not easily followed. Profuse means lavish. Imagining the type of man they were talking to, they spoke in half sentences and tried to convey the rest through gestures. But the young man had not the slightest difficulty in understanding them. He appeared to read their lips. He gracefully acknowledged their warmth and either nodded or shook his head in reply. For more complicated and lengthy answers, he used pen and paper. The next day, Mrs. Bandari was full of news. She talked as she had never talked before. She mentioned the stranger and the plans for the betterment of Pramodini he had outlined to her and her husband. There were schools for such people, he told them, though they were beyond most people's means. He had himself been educated in one such institution abroad and had now returned to India to render or give the same useful service to others by starting a school here. She almost broke down with gratitude when she said that he had agreed to accept Pramodini as his first pupil. He had emphatically stated that the girl could, in course of time, live almost as normal a life as any one of us who had the powers of hearing and speech. Mrs. Bandari laughed like a carefree girl. She gave us an extra helping of jam and butter and honey at the table. She looked the happiest woman in the world. So students, in the last section we had seen that immediately after reading the notes, reading the chits about Pramodini, the stranger, the new guest, he was moving towards Pramodini. She was sitting on the garden. Then the parents were anxious to know what is going to happen. They were following them. And in this section we can see that when the parents were reached the garden, they saw that the stranger was sitting on the grass and the Pramodini was sitting on his lap. Her parents became very surprised to see this scene because Pramodini had not laughed for years, but with this man she laughed shrilly and danced with joy. The reason for this immediate change in Pramodini was the stranger, Mr. David, was also like Pramodini, deaf and dumb, so that they can make conversation easily with gestures. And also Mr. David could read Pramodini's lips. Not only Pramodini's, he have the capacity, he have the ability to read what they are telling by looking at their lips. Then at the end of the story, Mr. David told Pramodani's parents that there were schools for people like Pramodani, and he was also educated in one such school in abroad, where he had learned the skill of communication and had returned to India to open a school for the handicapped children. He was eager to make Pramodani his first student, and disclosing this truth to the Bandharis thrilled her parents. Their joy knew no bounds, and they are filled with gratitude towards Mr. David. Then the story ends with the description of Mrs. Bandari as the happiest woman in the world and her love expressed as a carefree girl. As you can see in the picture, everything ends happily and everyone became happy. The writer is giving a message through this story, that is, hope is real, or we should have a hope in our mind. Hope you all enjoyed the story well. See you in the next class. Thank you.